Welcome back, Peter. Thank you for coming back, first of all. How are you? How are things?
I am great, thank you. I'm going on holiday tomorrow to Croatia for a week, so I'm pretty good actually.
Amazing. I
Yeah,
mean,
thanks.
I would also be good if I was going to Croatia for a week.
I mean, I'd love to spend an hour telling you about where I'm going because it's got a private beach and getting picked up for a boat trip on Tuesday, all sorts of fantastic things. But yeah,
I'm going to be here. I'm going to be, at work.
I'll send you some photos.
Please do. Okay, amazing. Well, let's talk all things pivot while we have you.
Right.
And I'm excited to jump into this conversation actually. So, obviously, you've been on the podcast before, you've interviewed me, and
Yeah.
now I have the opportunity to get your story.
Okay. Do your worst.
Don't be nervous. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
I
Um,
was very kind and gentle to you,
you
so
were, you
I
were.
hope you get. Well, maybe not all the time, but yeah, all right.
It'll be fine. It'll be good. We'll start with an easy one, which
Right.
is tell us a little bit about who was Peter before the pivot, and then who did he become after. Nice and
Okay.
easy. Nice and easy.
Yeah, all right, all right. So the pivot in particular that I'm talking about is going into cybersecurity. So this happened about 5 years ago, and before that, I was mostly a developer, web developer. So a backend web developer specifically. But I started working in the internet industry when I was 15. So back, oh God, should I date myself when that was? I was give people exactly how old I was. That was in 1995 when the internet was just exploding, just
Yeah.
starting to get big. And ever since then, I've kind of worked in different roles, but like as a sysadmin, I also travel around Europe and lived in lots of different, well, a few different places.
Mhm.
But for the majority of that, I was a programmer. I got into it after about 3 years, and then stuck with it. I've run a company mostly as a developer, on the tech side of things, as a
Yeah.
CTO, but also worked as a moving around abroad means you don't get to sort of stick at one thing in your career, and you're kind of
Mhm.
forced to change and evaluate what's out there. So yeah, that's kind of what I was before.
Yeah.
But like I've done all sorts of different things, so kind of quite a wide experience within the internet world.
Amazing. So if I was going to boil it down to pre-pivot Peter and post-pivot Peter, lots of P's there. Would
Just
be
bit of a Peter. Yeah,
it
put it
was
on my business card.
yeah, well, programmer, web developer, pre-pivot, and then pivoted into cybersecurity. What were you doing in cybersecurity? And you've probably done lots of different things, but where did it start for you?
So the where it all started. Well, I've been running this project online since 1997, so
Yeah.
quite a long time, and it's quite popular. It's used by my estimate is around 50 million people
Wow.
worldwide. It's a data source for other ad blockers on the internet. So for pieces of software which are blocking ads and trackers, they can use my block list, to enhance the effectiveness of that program.
Uh-huh.
So I don't charge anything for this. It's purely personal project. I don't, anybody can use it. And there was a company out there that was using it, and they reached out to me to say, "Hey, we just want to check. Thank you for your list, and we want to check whether we're supporting you." And I joked, I was like, "Oh, well, you can give me $5 a month on Patreon if you like, or have you got any jobs going?" And they did. So this was a cybersecurity company. It was called. Can I mention names?
Oh, yeah, yeah, if you're comfortable, yeah.
Yeah, it's a company called DNS Filter, and DNS is all to do with domains. And my list is all about domains that are being used for ads and trackers. So they used mine. Their customers could click a button and it would block domains which are being used for ads and trackers,
Uh-huh.
basically. But when I started working for them, I started working as a security researcher. So a bit more general, but it was essentially the same sort of thing. You're researching domains and finding out if they're threats, if they're phishing sites, or if they're sources of malware, being used for bad things online.
Right.
And at the time that I joined the company, I think I was number 15. something like that.
Okay.
And over the course of the next 3.5 years, they got investment, more investment, and they grew. And I ended up like hiring a team of 12 people by the time I'd left. And
Amazing.
yeah, so that was the catalyst to getting into cybersecurity was my little project I had on the side.
That's brilliant, and I love how that's come about. It feels like quite like a serendipitous kind of domino effect, which started with something that you had been working on for yourself. I've been thinking a lot about this concept of opportunity cost and how that can sometimes be a deterrent to pivoting.
Yeah.
So in the context of, a pivot, the opportunity cost for those people listening is, let's say you're already in a career and you want to pivot into something else, but you're constantly thinking about all the things that you'd miss out on. So let's say a promotion or a raise or whatever it might be. And because of all those potential things that you'd miss out on, you end up staying where you are and not necessarily pivoting into something that you might want to experiment with or try. In your context, did that ever play in your mind when you were thinking about your pivot? Because obviously, web development, programming for a lot of people, that's the dream, isn't it? Like it's a dream role. So for you, having the opportunity to pivot out of that, did you ever think about what the opportunity cost would be? Was that ever a constraint for you?
Yeah, it absolutely did. I mean, I was also at the sort of level in my career where I was, a manager, a team
Mhm.
lead if I wanted to be. I never really been, There's never been my strong suit, I have to say, as a people manager.
Yeah.
I've done it, but I think I prefer to get stuck in a bit more or look at the strategic side of things a bit more. Anyway, that's where I was. And so moving away and essentially starting again
Mm.
was a consideration. Like I'd be giving up a sort of level of seniority that was that I'd achieved. It turned out I was lucky though because the company itself was quite successful in over the next few years, and I was able to grow with the company. So I ended up going through, I was I think a team lead, and then something else, and then I ended up as the principal security researcher, which is
Amazing.
quite a good title.
Mm.
But I think that everybody gets a certain amount of luck in their lives. Statistically speaking, good things are going to happen sometimes,
Yeah,
and the trick is to try and take advantage of those moments when they come,
absolutely.
and not be afraid to give it a go. Yeah,
That's such a good way to frame it because I think whether we're conscious of it or not, that opportunity cost, or I guess another way to think of it is really FOMO, that fear of missing out, but like fear
yeah.
FOMO towards like what could have been or what, it can end up being quite a deterrent, let's call
Yeah,
it, to doing the thing that you really want to do.
I think fear is such a key factor in these kind of things because it's, you know, we want stability and we want to know that we're going to be able to pay our rent next month,
Right.
and we want to we think about the future, and the older we get, the harder it is to change. When I was younger, I was bouncing around all over the place and didn't really think about the consequences so much. But yeah, I think absolutely it gets to be we get to be scared about new things. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. And so for you, just so I have the timeline right, did you go straight into this new role as soon as you left the last one, or was there like a gap in between?
I actually was looking for a job at the time.
Hmm.
So when I joked with this company about, oh hey, have you got any jobs going?
Ah,
It was a bit of luck, honestly, that they said
yeah.
it. I did have to do like a contract for them for a couple of weeks, and I researched a little thing, and I guess they offered me a job in the end.
Yeah.
So it worked out quite well. And I was living in Malta at the time, and they were a completely remote company, so it was genuinely everything worked out well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I was kind of, I don't know. There was a bit of a gap
Mm.
while they thought about things, and it was a bit terrifying, really, because especially when there's a pause, right? When you you think things are going well and you get excited about something,
Yeah.
and then there's you're waiting for someone else to make a decision that's going to affect your life,
Yeah.
and that's the point where I personally am starting to think, oh my god, Have I made a mistake? Is everything going to go? And you just need to like take a breath.
Yeah, you start thinking all of
Yeah.
the worst possible things,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
You start thinking of like over analyzing every single step that like got you to this point where you're now
Yeah.
like essentially powerless and having to wait for someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think there's a couple of good ways to deal with it though, because I've done this. I've been out of work before, and you need to think about whether you would have done things the same way again, given the information you had at the time.
right.
Not like the information you have now, but like at the time, was that the right decision? And most of the time, yes, it is, because you're limited by what you know and what you can do at the time. And the other thing is to kind of try and get a sense of perspective, talk to other people. But
Yeah.
like, I think we talked about this the other day. Actually, was that out of the 100 reasons that things could go wrong,
Right.
5% of those are like within your control and about you actually. Even though we focus on that 5% about this is what we can do,
Yeah.
the 95% of it is you can't do anything about. It's like, so there's no point in worrying about it really.
Yeah. There's
But yeah.
I'm sure there's a psychological term for this. I'm not going to remember what it is now, but there is a term for it, that incessant human need to focus on that 5% and make it like massive and make it the only thing you can possibly see, even though actually in reality, like you
Yeah.
say, there's only so much of it you can actually do anything about. So, you know, yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, really. But yeah, I sympathise with people going through the same thing. The problem is that you
Yeah.
can give people this advice, but emotions aren't logical. So you can repeat yourself till you're blue in the face. It's why having someone to kind of pat you on the head and say it's going to be okay is helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a reality check almost.
Yeah, yeah,
Something to bring you back off the ledge.
yeah, 100%.
Brilliant. So in that time then, in that gap between when you're looking for work and you're figuring out what's going to be next and you're now waiting for this company to make a decision, how are you keeping the lights on? How are you making sure that you're, looking after yourself and able to pay all your bills, all the practical things?
Well, my dad lent me some money to pay some rent, I think at the time. So he's done that a couple of times. He's passed away now, but he did that for me a couple of times in my life. So again, very lucky to be in the position of having someone to be able to ask to help you out.
Yeah.
Also, I was considering I didn't stop applying for other jobs, trying to have a backup plan and thinking, what if this did go wrong, what would I do? But yeah, basically using up what money I had left and help from the bank of dad.
I mean, it's brilliant to be in a position where that can be an option. I think it definitely takes some of the weight off what can feel like quite a uncertain and scary time, which is when you're free falling, you kind of don't know where you're going to land yet.
Yeah.
Trying to still maintain a level of stability, I think is probably one of the most difficult things in a pivot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's other resources I could have tapped. Like I probably could have got a bank loan if I needed to. I might have been able to go on unemployment, which I didn't have to do, which was again fortunate. But
Yeah.
there's certain benefits you can get from that, and if you're actively looking for a job, you can show that, and that's useful. Fortunately, I didn't have to in my case.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So in terms of thinking about, and you asked me this on our interview, and I wanted to make sure I ask you as well.
Oh dear, is this going to be a
No,
difficult
no,
one?
I think this was a great question. This is a brilliant question. When you were looking for your next role and you were thinking about like what do you want it to give you? What paydays were you looking for from that next move and that next step?
I've had the same priority roughly my whole life, which is the people I work with, and an interesting thing to work on. And I don't really care what industry it's in, or the how the size of the company or the career prospects. Really, money has always been a kind of secondary or tertiary consideration for me, as long as it's enough to stay afloat. Although I do always say, so I say that money's not my top priority, which is true, but I try and explain to potential employers in the interview phase that I'm not going to screw you and try and negotiate for the most amount of money I possibly could, which is probably a thing I should be doing.
Right.
But if you make me an offer that is under market value, is not what I'm worth, I'm going to figure it out sooner or later.
Yep.
And when I do, I'm not going to be a very good employee. So it's not in their interest to make an offer that's taking advantage of me, because people don't like to be manipulated. They're not good. They were not going to be as productive or useful to the company. So it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I don't know whether this argument always works,
I
but
was
that's
gonna
what I
ask,
say.
how does that conversation go for you in the room?
I mean, I just say it and leave it. I say, okay, well, make me an offer of what you think is reasonable.
Yeah.
And I hate trying to price myself, but sometimes you have to. But yeah,
It's one of those things, I think, like, people hate negotiating. People hate the idea of negotiating. I think it comes back to what you said. It's the idea of having to like put a price on yourself.
yeah,
Most people would recommend that you just do your research and try and figure out, like you say, like eventually you're going to figure out what that market rate actually is. So
yeah.
if you can have that information as early as possible, you're going to be in the best position to not be taken advantage of.
It's tough though if you're pivoting to a new area, because you don't have a sense of what you're worth in that kind of that sphere. Like trying to price myself as a security researcher. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, how much do they earn? Like, what level am I at? What can I do? And yeah, it's really tough. So you're right though. Doing research, there are some really good resources online. Levels.fyi in the tech sphere is really good. I don't know if you know that site, but it can show you what specific companies, like big ones like Amazon and Twitter, and for like a level 1 engineer, level 1 security guy, all the way up to like level 6, which is like VP level, I think. And they can tell you the salaries at those places, which is really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't been on that myself, but I will link it in the description box, wherever we put this.
One tactic that I used a couple of times, which I have tried to use it more than a couple of times, but I've said, okay, if they're not sure about me and they want to put me on a probation period and I'm not happy with the probationary salary, I've said, okay, I will accept that salary for the first 3 months or 6 months, but if you hire me, then, because to me, I think that's unfair to put someone on a lower salary for a probationary period, because if after that time you've said, yeah, okay, you're good, we'll keep you on full time,
Right.
then it means all the time you've been working, you've been worth that much. You haven't changed. You've just been paid less. And I've said, okay, I'll accept the lower salary for the probationary period if you back pay me for those 6 months, the difference between the new salary and the last one. And it's hard to argue against that, because you have been working for them and providing that value to the company,
Right.
which is at the level of the salary that they've then agreed to. So there's no reason why they shouldn't have to pay you.
That's a really good way to think about that, actually. And you're right, it is difficult. It's so logical. It's quite hard to,
Yeah.
to argue with, isn't it?
It's a bit cheeky, but I mean, it does make sense. So
It's always worth asking the question, though, isn't it?
yeah,
Because I mean, the worst they're going to say is no. So
yeah. Which has been the reply I've gotten before. It's like,
it has happened.
yeah.
Okay, that's brilliant. So when you're, I'm doing this very chronologically today. When you get into the organization, you're in cybersecurity.
Yeah.
First, what was your assumption of what the industry was going to be like before you got into the industry?
Oh, all hoodies, dark rooms, green screens,
Ones and zeros, coding.
multiple keyboards, multiple monitors. No, not really. I mean, again, I had a little bit of a head start because I've always been interested in cybersecurity. I'm in the internet tech world anyway, so I had a bit of an idea. And I've done some, like digital forensics investigations before.
Amazing.
As with my sysadmin background, I've been responsible for like hardening servers to prevent attacks and the security side of things, but never done it professionally. So yeah, so it was interesting. Like I said, one of my priorities is the people that I work with. So I did a bit of research into the characters and people that I was coming on board with, and they all seem looking up social media posts and their Reddit forums and reviews on Glassdoor and these kind of things. there's usually some kind of like footprint online.
Yeah.
So my expectations were pretty accurate, I think. It was a young startup company, and they were kind of agile, moving fast, and kind of disruptors in some way. They were taking the place of a competitor who wasn't really moving very quickly and not innovating very much. So yeah, it was basically like that. Personally, I thrive in those kind of environments, but I know a lot of people prefer the more structured way of working, which is, it's fine. Everybody's different.
Yeah. So similar to what you expected, like you say, you were in a similar space or in proximity to the cybersecurity space.
Yeah.
When you started doing it professionally, though, were you the same? Like, did you have to change anything about your ways of working or how you engaged with it professionally?
Yeah, yeah. In cybersecurity in particular, there's there's a big focus on trust and relationships with people
Yeah.
and how open you are with things.
Mhm.
And I would actually say it's a bit of a problem in the industry, because I think the fact that that organizations don't share data they don't share threat intelligence enough. It's it's a corporate thing because they want to make money from their IP, but I think it doesn't help the world overall if you keep information about vulnerabilities and bad websites to yourself, even though companies use it as a USP, as a way of saying, hey, we're better than the competition because we know about more websites that are hosting, scams. Which I can see why they do it, obviously, but if everybody shared it, then we would have far fewer people being taken advantage of online.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the whole like trust groups and some concepts that I just had no idea about how they worked at all. And I've always tended towards I love open source software, and I love open standards and things like that. So I've always just kind of defaulted to that. And I found that in the cybersecurity industry, people were a lot more closed off.
Right.
And getting through that with people was a challenge. And it's still a challenge, I think. I think it will always be. But, where would we be without challenges?
There is that, and I mean, I'm an optimist at heart, and I would like to say that there's more collaboration now, which is a good sign, I guess.
Yeah, I think I'd agree. It's difficult to gauge because we all have our own little areas.
So other than that, then, was there anything else? Because we think about the pivot itself, like we have a lot of conversations about the pivot and the process of the pivot, but what was it like for you once you had made it, once you got the job, you were doing it for a while? Was it
Yeah.
everything you hoped it would be? Was it everything you wanted it to be?
Yeah, I mean, it really was. Well, I take that back. There are a few things that I didn't enjoy.
Tell me more. Tell me more.
Well, so it was more to do with the fact that I moved into a proper startup environment as opposed to cybersecurity.
Right.
So DNS Filter had acquired a company called WebShrinker,
Yeah.
which was a way of classifying websites automatically. So it would DNS Filter also had a feature. Well, one of its main things is you can filter by type of website or type of site or type of domain. So like social media or job websites or news or I don't know, politics or whatever. And you could say certain types you wanted to block, which is useful for all sorts of different people, like schools, corporate environments, home users all want different things. Also, it's interesting to see what reports as well. For reporting, it's good to see how it breaks down. Anyway, WebShrinker was a kind of an acquisition, and at one point, the head of sales was no longer at DNS Filter, and so the WebShrinker inbox of people wanting to buy the WebShrinker services was building up. And I said, well, I could take care of that for a few weeks until we find a new sales guy. And I was like, yeah, okay, cool, cheers, because I've been working a lot with WebShrinker on the security side of things.
Yeah.
That was a mistake. That was a mistake. I should not have volunteered for that at all. I mean, It was a startup environment, so you do
Yeah.
what you can do.
Everyone does everything, really.
But I'm not cut out for sales, man. I'm not no good at sales. Negotiating contracts, I was, oh god, I found it awful. Yeah, it was an interesting experience to have to kind of like tackle that. It's something I'm just not used to, not comfortable with, not very good at.
Mm.
But yeah.
That's interesting, though. What made you put your hand up and say, "Hey, I'll take this on. I'll do that."
Because I didn't realize how much work it would be. How I didn't. I thought it would just be easy. Like it was. Oh, I had a peek at the inbox,
Yeah,
and I'd seen people say, "Hey, we'd like to sign up for this and this, and here's our credit card details or
yeah,
whatever." I thought, oh, I could do that, no problem.
right. It's so funny though, because I suppose when for a lot of people, not even just in a startup environment, but let's say you pivot into something, you start a new company, it is really easy to just say yes to everything, isn't it?
Yeah,
And you
yeah,
do have to learn to protect your time and protect
yeah,
like your capacity. And also, that tendency to say yes to everything means that you can't possibly do everything well. So you do have to like grow to be more selective. You look like this is
no,
fascinating slightly.
100%. I mean, yeah, the the tendency to overcommit
Yeah,
is because the thing is that there's loads of problems which you can solve.
right.
So you have to learn that skill of triaging and prioritizing, and I think that not just that, but the hardest thing is to say no to things,
Yeah, that's
and
the thing you have to like learn as a
yeah,
skill. It's a real, and I can definitely resonate with this. I've been in roles where I really want to say yes. Like I'm a person that really likes like getting things done. I want to
yeah.
say yes to things, but sometimes you just can't. Sometimes you just can't, and you have to learn to say no.
It's very similar to the transition from being just an individual contributor to a management role,
Yeah, yeah,
because you have to get into the mind, stop the mindset of like, I know how to fix that, so I'm going to go and fix it.
yes, yeah,
um, and jumping in, you have to like step back, delegate to someone else, and
yeah,
then trust that they'll do it. And if they do mess it up,
yeah,
then you have to go in and deal with that situation. But you can't, if you try and jump in and fix everything, you're not going to be a very good manager.
yeah. And
Yeah,
also, it's like it's then doing a disservice to the person that you're taking that
absolutely,
task from because they never learn.
100%. Yeah,
They then are robbed of the opportunity to grow in that way, and
yeah,
that's also not great because it's then their development, and it's a whole vicious cycle, really, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It absolutely is. But yeah, I mean, I think that's the same in a startup environment. Like going into that place of, you know, you're kind of doing a disservice to the company if you try and fix everything,
Yeah,
because you're not you're not leaving things to one side that really, no, could be great, could be interesting and fun, but are not going to make money. Uh, won't be maintained in the future. You don't have resources to develop properly, and are going
yeah.
to take you away from things that are more important.
There's also that thing around then over time becoming the single point of failure because
Yes.
you're the person with all the knowledge, and if something happens,
Yeah.
as life does,
Yeah.
everyone else is in some hot water.
Document everything. Yes.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. What was the biggest because you've talked about it kind of dotted around in your journey, um what was your biggest takeaway and learning from managing people? And with that experience, is there anything that you would say to the pivoters that are listening and looking to get into um new industries and new roles?
Um, the biggest thing, look, I'll talk about what the parts of it I really enjoyed, and the most rewarding aspect of people management is seeing the people that you're looking after get better and to raising them up. It's really genuinely lovely to have someone come to you and say, "Oh my God, I did this amazing thing," and then to know that you enabled that to happen,
Yeah.
and that without you they wouldn't have gotten to that point, which is, it's just wonderful, I think. um, and it always made me feel like I want to dance around and go, "Hey, I'll help with that bit." You've got to give them the kind of the grace to like cherish themselves. That's yeah, but it's such a rewarding aspect of it. Yeah, I don't like the whole budgets and admin and that side of things is why I've never gravitated towards it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
But it's a sort of necessary evil, really. It just means it's just stuff that needs to be done. So, but yeah, and then there's a level beyond that where you're kind of managing teams of people or looking at the strategic side of things. And I think that's important. Another transition as well. But then there's always so a lot of people. There's the two classic career development paths, which is to stay as an IC or individual contributor, and that will go into management.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a middle road, which is technical leadership or kind of like leading in your area in a more kind of educational way, or showing people how to do things like in a sort of architect domain or something like that. Architects are kind of ICs really, but like I think there's a middle ground that kind of leans towards leadership, but isn't people management.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
no,
not common.
that does make sense. Thinking about all the people that you've managed over the years, the ones that were really great, the ones that really stood out to you as this person is phenomenal at what they do. What characteristics did they have in common?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the most important thing is the soft skills. To be honest, above the technical ability is great, and it's important. Of course, you need to be able to do the job, but the being able to communicate and being able to like work with other people and being able to adapt to moving targets and moving situations is very important. Without being too like a pushover or anything like that.
Yeah.
But just being able to sort of be nice and smile. There's especially in the tech world, there's this whole thing of greybeards who are just grumpy old men or grumpy old women who just like to complain about users and why are they trying to do that, and not being able to see that side of things. So having a bit of perspective is really useful. Sometimes you get like I don't want to swear too much, but the brilliant asshole who's like amazing, like a genius at coding or sysadmin, or can solve any problem, but just is very unpleasant to work with,
Right.
And I think that I would rather have someone who can communicate and is like intermediate level than someone like that.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
It's really interesting though, like most people that are manager level and above, most people that I've spoken to share the same perspective and always say the same thing. And I think it's an important point to make, because when you're pivoting, it's really easy to get really tunnel vision on the technical things, and like you say, like that's important. You have to be able to do the job fundamentally. That's ground zero, but don't neglect the development of those soft skills, the ability to communicate with people, the ability to have a conversation, translate language, and not always speak in jargon, so that you're able to be understood by people that might not be as technical.
That's so true.
Those are things that are absolutely vital and could be the thing that differentiates you at the end of the day.
Yeah, 100%. That's so true. And it requires a bit of effort as well.
Yeah.
Like you have to sort of consciously sit down and go, all right, I'm going to make some time to chat to my teammates now and just say, how you doing?
Yeah.
And it might even feel like a waste of time, or feel like it's not work, or not being a manager, or not leading people. But it really is like, and encouraging, not in a fake way as well. One of my pet peeves is the forced fun, I'm not a fan of those.
Organized fun. You don't like organized fun.
Yeah, no. And you're not always going to be successful. Not everybody is super sociable even.
Yeah.
But just to kind of like take an interest in other people's lives and just show that you actually care about them, and doesn't have to be too full on. In fact, if it's too full on, it's probably counterproductive.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah.
No, that's really good advice. Again, to take it back to that initial pivot from web developer, where you had a community, you had been working there for a while, switching into cyber, was there because you had already started the project that you were doing. So was there a community or a person that made the biggest difference in that transition for you?
Yeah, there's a couple.
You've also mentioned that your dad was quite supportive in that time as well. But yeah, anyone else?
I think it's people that I met as part of the cybersecurity community.
Uh-huh.
In general, and there were so many helpful, lovely people that I met
Yeah.
online. And Twitter at the time wasn't. It's always been pretty horrible, but like it used to have the single best source of infosec people like available that I knew of.
Uh-huh.
And I had a lot of success of just reaching out to people cold and saying, "Hey, I'm trying to learn about this thing.
Uh-huh.
Can you help? Can you help?" And people are surprisingly helpful and surprisingly open to kind of giving you their time.
Yeah.
I think it's because it's something that they are passionate about, and they like to share that passion. Most people do, right? If they love something, then they want other people to love it too.
Yeah.
And if you show them that you're interested in something, then they want to kind of embrace that.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of people like that. There were a couple of people in particular. There's a guy called John Todd who is I don't know if I should be naming names here. You could, yeah. He was the general manager of an online service called Quad9, and he was just really super nice and helpful, and very incredibly busy guy, but just always gentle and super knowledgeable, and just really friendly and nice and kind of. Yeah, a great guy overall and very helpful. And he invited me to an organization called FIRST, which is the Forum of Incident Responders and Security Teams. They're kind of like a meta cert, all the different, well, not all, but most of the governments around the world. There's computer emergency response teams from there that deal with like national threats, send their teams join up to FIRST. And I'm doing a bit of an ad for them now, but I joined them, and there's a really good community there.
Yeah.
And I'm still active with them. I represent them as the DNS abuse ambassador, which so they send me to places and I talk. And that's a really great community. I met so many people there who were just, it's people from the corporate world, from the academic world, from research, from government, from law enforcement, and that was really helpful. There was just tons of people there that I could like reach out to, say, "Hey, I see you're a member of FIRST, and do you know anything about this thing?" Yeah. And they have special interest groups inside of FIRST, which are on different topics. So they have one on AI, they have one on malware reversing, they have one on information sharing. They've got one called the Human Factors in Security, which is all about the human side of things. It's really, really good community.
Oh, brilliant. I'm going to check them out. But I asked that also because I think it's daunting, isn't it? Like when you don't necessarily have that community yet, or when you're pivoting into something, you're coming in cold, it's daunting sometimes. For some people find it especially daunting to reach out
Yeah.
and just ask the question, that initial first step question that's maybe going to be met with silence. That's a daunting thing. How would you get around that? What would you advise people to do to get around that?
Oh God, I don't have a good answer for that one. I'm
Mm.
afraid. I think we touched on this before about imposter syndrome, which I think everybody gets to a greater or lesser degree.
Yeah.
And I certainly had it a lot. I think this is where good managers can come in. I have to give a lot of credit, a good shout out to my old boss, the CTO, former CTO of DNS Filter, called Michael Schroll. He was great. He was really open and friendly and supportive of most of the things that I wanted to do. And I'm still in touch with him, even though he left years ago. And other people that I've worked with who kind of just, in the same way that like a partner might give you a pat on the back and tell you everything's okay, on a professional level do the similar thing. So your peer groups, don't be afraid to be vulnerable and say, look, I don't know if I'm absolutely messed this whole thing up or not. Am I doing this right?
Yeah.
Get feedback from people. Adam Spotton, if you're listening to this, he's another guy who is brilliant. I love working with him. Very kind and thoughtful, and always trying to do the right thing. Trying to identify those people, and you
kind of build community with those people, like intentional community, or your own council in your head of people that can support you.
And don't be too afraid of taking up their time. Just try and pay it forward to other people in the future. So your karma levels are satisfied.
Got to satisfy the karma levels.
Yeah,
Um, and that's a brilliant concept, though, that concept of paying it forward, because that's a real thing when particularly if you're not the expert in the transaction, sometimes there's this feeling of, oh my God, I'm wasting this person's time.
yeah,
And that can also be like, even when you manage to get in a meeting, like you're almost rushing it to
yeah.
end because and you're afraid to ask all the questions that you might have because of that fear of wasting their time. But as long as you're going to pay it forward, I think that you're contributing to the overall good, the overall
Yeah,
good.
I'd say a couple other things. Don't be afraid to fail, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Try and prevent them, and set yourself up so that if you do make mistakes, then it's then not going to be too severe. Like take backups,
Yeah,
that kind of thing. Um, but
always back up.
yeah, but we can't improve unless we fail in the first place.
Yeah.
You can't get better at something if you're perfect. So, like, it's fine to make mistakes. Just learn from them and don't gloss over them. Um, don't make it your reaction to like say that you're right or that what happened. Just accept it and
Hmm.
then do better from it.
Yeah, it's accountability ultimately, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, and everybody makes mistakes, even if they don't admit it.
Mhm.
So yeah.
No, that's I think that's really great advice. Thinking about your journey as a whole, from that initial pivot to where you are now, obviously you've been in the industry for a while. Is there anything you would change about your journey? Because it's easier to look back and connect the dots that way, and you can then pick things out and be like, I would have done that different with what I know now. Do you have
That's
those moments?
it is a hard question. I should be more prepared for this because I think I asked you the same thing. But um, what would I change? Don't know, really. I think probably at maybe a point or two, I was a little arrogant. I think a typical journey that people go through in the tech world from junior to intermediate, senior, whatever. There's a point at when you're a junior where you start to learn things and you feel like, oh my god, I know everything,
Yeah,
and it
I
just
think that's wider than tech, to be fair. But yeah,
I can only speak for the personal experience. And there was maybe moments when I probably should have been a bit more humble. Um, I hope, I don't know, not as bad these days. I don't know. I mean, I'm amazing, but just, I'm humble about it. That's the key thing.
got to have confidence. You've got to back yourself. You've got to back yourself.
Yeah, it's a balance. You can't deny the good things that you've done, but also don't go overboard. Um, I don't know. Fundamentally, I think I'm pretty happy with the journey that I've been through,
Yeah.
and I think I've ended up in a good place. But there's been moments where I wish I would have changed everything. Right? There's moments where I was thinking, "Oh my God, should not have been doing this." When I was doing sales for that company, that was yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like it was not your best moment.
It was traumatic, Howard. It was. I'll never. It's gonna scarred me for life, honestly.
Good,
Um,
good, yeah.
Apologies to anyone actually in sales, by the way. You're doing a great job.
No, I mean, it didn't sound like you were downing sales. It just sounded like sales wasn't your thing.
No, no, yes, thank you. I'm glad it did come across that way.
Good. Okay. So over the next like 6 to 12 months, obviously you're going on holiday tomorrow, but
Yeah.
other than that, over the next 6 to 12 months, what is super exciting for you?
Oh, there's things I can't talk too much about,
Oh,
unfortunately.
oh,
I
these are the
know.
best ones. Well, we're gonna have to just keep an eye on it and
Yeah.
see what happens in the next 6 to 12 months.
So one of the things that I've valued and I've loved doing over the past few years is public speaking
Amazing.
and um, and doing presentations about things that I am really interested
Yeah.
in cybersecurity and DNS and ad blocking and stuff like this.
Uh-huh.
Um, and I love talking to people and saying, "Hey, did you know there's this really cool thing? Let me tell you about it."
Yeah.
And like trying to show people how cool some things are. Um, and as a side effect of that, I sort of had a bit more visibility online,
Right.
and people have started to ask me to come and do talks for them and stuff like that. And it's also really helped with my career. And it's helped have people approach me to ask me about opportunities and things.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at. I think I might mention it, but like the last year was a little bit rocky for me. Lots of like non-work things happening,
Uh-huh.
which I had to deal with, and all sort of normal life things, but and nothing end of the world. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Specifics aren't important, but I've only recently sort of started getting back into the swing of things, and it's been nice to kind of start doing all that stuff again and start thinking about working properly again. And yes, it's really lovely to. I'm very lucky that some people have come to me and said, "Hey, you interested in X, Y, Z?" So yes, I'm kind of excited about some of them,
Yeah.
and we'll see if they work out. And if they didn't work out, then they never happened. So yeah,
It's that thing, isn't it? Of we were talking about it earlier in terms of that FOMO aspect. We won't even talk about the things that didn't happen, but we'll focus on the
yes,
things that do. Um,
yeah.
but that does sound exciting, and I think knowing you, the very small aspects of your life that I do know, I think you're going to be phenomenal in what you
Oh,
go on to do. So yeah, I wish you all the best with that.
thank you so much.
Um, my next question for you is you've done a pivot very successfully and you've then come into an industry and like you've done amazingly in that industry, which is cybersecurity.
Thanks.
What is one piece of pivot propaganda that you would tell pivoters to absolutely not fall for?
That it's all going to be great straight away. That the dream will come true like that.
Yeah.
I think any kind of pivot, and I could say for cybersecurity specifically, but like in general, I would say probably applies to everything.
Uh-huh.
It does require work and effort and a bit of grind,
Yeah.
unless you're extremely lucky. And then I think the people who appear to be extremely lucky and have had that instant success online don't really. If you dig a bit deeper, you find out that they've had to go through a long period of like not immediate success.
Mm,
So yeah, unless you've got like family money or something,
yeah.
even if you do, it's still to make a successful business. You still have to work at it.
Yeah.
Everything requires work. So yeah, once you've gone on a path that you think is going to be good, just knuckle down and keep at it. Yeah,
I think that's really great advice. Was I came across this do you know the story of the Chinese bamboo tree?
I don't know.
It's like I'll get all the numbers wrong, but I think it takes like 5 years for it to even get to the surface of the soil.
Wow.
And so that takes 5 years. And then in like 3 months, it grows to like 90 feet in three
Yeah.
months. And then the question is like, well, did it take 5 years to do that? Or did it take 3 months to do that? It took 5 years, right? But
Right.
it's, as you say, these things take time. And
Yeah.
sometimes the online perception can skew the expectation of how quickly things are supposed to happen because
Yeah.
everyone's showing the highlight reel, but actually
Exactly.
it does take time, it does take graft, and it does take effort. And there's that instance of stopping too soon sometimes because you think that X should be happening and it's not happening yet, therefore I failed. And that's rarely the case, particularly when you're pivoting, particularly when you're going into something new. So I think that's a really great point, actually. That is one piece of pivot propaganda to not fall for.
Yeah. I think the corollary to that is to enjoy the process. Find something that you are interested in genuinely, and that where the journey is not going to be the grind is not going to be too painful.
Uh-huh.
Where you can actually enjoy what you're doing while you're getting to that period of classic success
Yeah.
kind of thing. I love cybersecurity. I think it's fascinating for me. So it wasn't that hard to just get stuck in and start learning about things. And also quite enjoy finding out new things as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, except for sales, not sales, never sales.
So,
I don't know if I mentioned that, but just want to stick it in. Um, but yeah, I think that kind of like find something where it should be part of the evaluation process,
Yeah.
I guess, when you're pivoting. Is like, is this something that I think I could stick at for 5 years?
Uh-huh.
Perhaps it's a good question. Even if you don't stick at it for 5 years, it's a good question to ask yourself.
No, 100%. Okay. And then last but not least, then, are there any other resources? We've mentioned quite a few as we've gone anyway, but are there any other resources, podcasts, books, etc., that you would recommend to people who are pivoting into cybersecurity, but even wider than cybersecurity?
Yeah, a couple of things I would say. There's always good books. The tech world is full of them, but the O'Reilly ones are really good
Yeah.
if you're learning about a new topic. I would say a good thing to do is look at the different certifications out there. Go to LinkedIn and look at the kind of jobs you want and what kind of certs do they request. You don't have to do the certs. Most of them cost money. Most of them cost money you have to retake on a like every year or on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But all of them will have example questions out there. Go and see how you do at the
Yeah.
free sample tests, because first of all, it will give you a good idea about what the certs cover, but also show you what you need to know and where the gaps in your knowledge are. So that's really handy. In cybersecurity, I think people have moved off of Twitter onto Mastodon, largely, in my experience. I'm not. There's nothing that has fully replaced how Twitter used to be for InfoSec.
Uh-huh.
But there's loads of people. There's infosec.exchange is the Mastodon instance I use, and there's tons of people on there, all lovely and friendly and nice. I'm at PGL on it, so you can follow me and I'll see who I'm following, and they're all nice people.
Uh-huh.
And don't be afraid to just kind of reach out to people. So you ask for specific things. There's also a bunch of free events.
Yeah.
Security London was one that happened recently. It was pretty big. I got a whole bag of swag, and you could go. It's free.
Yeah.
So things like that. Look out for events you can go to and just chat to people. Have a. They're all trying to sell you something, but you're going to find if you spend a day there, you will find some people to talk to that have similar interests. So yeah.
That's brilliant. That's a good list of resources as well, particularly on the like free event front. I've been really surprised and inundated with the amount of free events out there, and there's always things happening, and it doesn't necessarily even have to be in the same proximity as you. There are virtual
Yeah.
events, there are just depending on what you're looking for. So I think that's definitely worth doing. Do that research and
Yeah.
try and find things that you can like go to.
Actually, I should mention that on the other end of the scale,
Hmm.
the local meetups and things. In London, for example, there's one called DC 4420, which is a local chapter of the DEF CON, which is a kind of legendary meetup
Yeah.
that happens every year. And DC 4420 have just reformed, and every month they're going to be having talks from people in the industry
Amazing.
who are talking about kind of crazy things they've done. They have it in a pub, and it's very informal, and I meet the most interesting people there.
Amazing.
I did a talk for them once
Did
on
you?
bizarre and unusual things people have done with DNS, and it's a long thing about crazy things that people have done.
Yeah.
And I talked about one particular thing, and I was like, "Oh, this guy, he's an absolute legend. Check this out." And I talked about the thing,
Yeah.
and I got a hand up from the audience,
Is it
and
live?
he was there. He was listening to me. He was
Oh,
like,
wow.
"Oh my god!" Oh!
Total
Totally.
fanboy moment then.
Yeah, absolutely. It was so good.
That's
Um,
brilliant.
yeah, but like genuinely really interesting people there, and it's just a local thing in London, but they're all over the country,
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's incredible. Peter, that has been a fantastic chat. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming back.
Well, it's only fair.
No, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. You gave some really, really specific and really good resources that I hope people will tap into, and maybe you'll see some of our listeners at some of the events. But no, that's been incredible. Thank you so much.
Also, if anybody out there is interested, hit me up on LinkedIn or Mastodon, or I don't know, Blue Sky, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, have a chat.
No, I
Why
will.
not?
I will link all your socials as well and your website, because I think you're just a genuinely great person to talk to, particularly about anything really. So yeah,
Thank you, Howard. You're too kind.
reach out, reach out.
Same to you, Howard.
Thank you, thank you.